My name is Terry Chunda, and this is my intro video to a documentary, The Black Legion. Hope you enjoy it.
The Black Legion was a malicious vigilante group of white supremacists formed in Detroit in 1930 to 1937. They targeted politicians, minorities, and anybody who didn't believe in white supremacy. But their downfall soon came after the murder of Charles Pooley. He was a work progress administration organizer, and he was accused of being his pregnant wife into a miscarriage by his brother-in-law, who was a violent Black Legion member. The conflict of our topic is the strong, overwhelming issue of racism and white supremacy that ran Detroit in the early 1900s. And there's no compromise to this because racism is still going on today, and there's still groups that still exist just underground that we don't know about. And we want to talk about the Black Legion and what they did and what they did to people that we don't know about.
So Terry, can you tell me about the Black Legion?
Yes, I can. Well, the Black Legion was a white power group that made a name for themselves by committing murders and other terrible crimes. Despite these horrible things, the Black Legion somehow managed to stay underground and in secrecy. They operated out of the city of Detroit in Michigan during the years of 1929 to 1933. And in this time, they're responsible for somewhat 50 murders in the city of Detroit. The Black Legion wasn't just a poor street gang. They were made up of some pretty important people. Crooked cops and the Detroit Police Force have been said to have ties to the Black Legion, along with other major sports teams such as the Detroit Tigers. Hall of Famer Mickey Corona is said to have been a member of the Black Legion when they're in their prime. They've been a member of the Black Legion. The murder of an African-American man named Silas Coleman in May of 1935, on the same day that Jesse Owens broke 4 world records, is a big deal because of the motive. Silas Coleman was lured up to the Ford Mill Pond by several Black Legion members in a town called Pinkley. He was then shot in the head and dumped into the pond by the Legion members who simply wanted to know what it felt like to murder a black man. This murder depicts just how cruel and ruthless members of the Black Legion truly were. The daily lives of people who lived in Detroit were strongly affected by the Black Legion's presence. Because of the terrorism and horrific things they did to all the minorities in the area, families and other people did not feel safe to come outside of their own homes in their own city. The Black Legion members were also big sports fans. So when they were committing crimes or committing murders, they made sure that what they were doing did not line up with the schedule of the Detroit Tigers. So when they were murdering somebody or kidnapping somebody, they would say, "Oh, today's a game. Well, let's do this at 7 because the game's at 5." So they didn't want to miss any part of the sports game that they were watching. On May 12, 1936, Charles A. Pooley, a Works Progress Administration organizer, was abducted by a group of Black Legion members to be punished for being accused of beating his wife into a miscarriage. He was an ethnic French Catholic man married to a Protestant woman, which the Black Legion did not agree with. Charles did not know what was going on until he was thrown out of the car onto the ground, surrounded by a gang of Black Legion members. They then told Charles that he was going to pay for the crimes he committed on his wife with his life. But Charles had committed none of these crimes he's being accused of. The Legion did not believe the words of Charles A. Pooley, so he was shot and killed by the leader, Dayton Dean. This falsely justified murder led to the downfall of the Black Legion. When Charles A.'s wife found out from her husband she was in labor giving birth to the first child, the child he was accused of beating to death. Charles had never been his wife, so she was furious for this unjustified murder of her husband. She vowed to have people responsible to be held accountable for this murder. The investigation of this murder led quickly to the arrest of the man, Dayton Dean, who was responsible for pulling the trigger. Dayton behind bars, the arrest of the Black Legion shortly began to crumble. Dayton pled guilty to the murder of Charles A. Pooley, which landed him life in prison. But he did not go down alone. He snitched and testified against 12 other members of the Black Legion for the murder of Charles A. Pooley. 11 of those men were found guilty, and 1 walked away, a free man acquitted of the case. This murders were brought the Black Legion out of the shadows and exposed them for what they were. This also helped the police plan many other murders on the Black Legion, such as the murder of Silas Coleman, which happened a year prior to this one. This is what led to the Black Legion's downfall.
Franklin, what are some of the effects the Black Legion had on the community?
Like every team, the Tigers slumped. At the same time, the Black Legion started to slump. After the tensions of investigation on the Black Legion, the famous catcher, Cochrane, started having a nervous breakdown because of all these investigations that were being placed and him being suspected as a Legion. Because of that, he was placed in a hospital, and authorities were getting closer and closer to finding out who was in the Black Legion, what the Black Legion does, and all the people they killed. Even though they were policing the Black Legion, you would think they were safe, but you're wrong, because Dayton Dean, he pled guilty to the death of Charles Pooley, and he also told about 12 other men that were involved in this murder. Dean and 12 other men were sentenced to life in prison, but only one of them got acquitted. The only people who didn't get sentenced were people that were above Dean, people that were leaders. But because of this, there were also other investigations. Because they found out about this murder of Charles Pooley, the Black Legion was going down and down, and keeping going down. Then they found even more deaths that were connected, like the Silas Coleman. They found out about what they did in him, and they also found out about Arthur Kingsley, who was a Highland Park publisher of a community, who was also running for mayor. They found out that he was a target for the Black Legion. They hated him because he was hiring black people for city jobs. And because of that, 16 men were indicted. Also, it was 2 factory policemen, a policeman, and several Highland Park employees. McRae prosecuted and gained convictions of 37 Legion members on these later charges. After more, there were more people getting caught. The arson squad of the Black Legion confessed to the August 1934 burning of the farm labor organizer William Mulhauer and other people and other plans to disrupt the legitimate political meetings. All of these cases received international media coverage. The cops covered murders over a 3-year period of time. People were not fully aware of what the Black Legion and how dangerous they actually were. But because of this, Detroit became a safer place. The murder rate went down, less kidnappings happened, and the Black Legion ended in 1937. The Black Legion was a malicious vigilante group formed in 1930 by white supremacists. They targeted politicians and minorities and anybody who didn't believe in white supremacy. The majority of them were in Detroit because they had a lot of power. But the reason for their power is because of the racism that was still going on in Detroit in the early 1900s. They killed Charlie Pooley. He was a French Catholic. He was a Progress Administration organizer, but he was accused of beating his pregnant wife into a miscarriage by his brother-in-law, who was a Black Legion member. Though because of this murder of Charlie Pooley, it brought the Black Legion down. The conflict of our topic is the powerful overruling racism that was in Detroit, and it still hasn't ended because there's still groups such as the KKK, just underground, that still exist today. And our topic is so important because it shows how powerful racism really has in our world and how racist white folks were back in the day.
Well, man, I know. Sometimes I ain't crazy, but I'm still your baby, man. The project made me like this. You can't blame me. Mama, I'm still your baby, but the streets corrupt me. I'm sorry I fell in love.